the absolutely astounding cost of childcare. It's not free. It's crazy. You are going to be rolling in the cash. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lee from Mortgage Free Lee. I talk about money and mum life on the internet. And today, if you are a working parent with a child in nursery or childcare, you need to watch this video because we're going to be talking all about 30 hours. What the heck is it? How the heck do you apply for it? What the heck is going on? First up, I just want to say I am not a financial advisor. I'm not qualified in any way to give financial advice. What I am is a mum and a finance content creator who has figured out a few things along this journey and wants to share them with you. This is my 5th video so far, and it's my first sit-down video. Now, I did say when I started, I wanted to start talking a little bit more about money, budgeting. We're going to talk about tax-free childcare. We're going to talk about 30 hours childcare. We're going to talk about child benefits. We're going to talk about how to save money on groceries, all that good stuff. But first things first, with everything that's going on right now, we need to talk about 30 hours. It's important to just let you know at the start that most of this video is going to apply specifically to England. Wales and Scotland have got their own schemes. So picture this, you had a baby, you're about to return to work, you've looked up nurseries and discovered the absolutely astounding cost of childcare. What do you do next? I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to watch this video and I'm going to tell you about one of the main government assistance programs that will help you with the cost of childcare. So first things first, what is 30 hours free childcare? Well, this is going to get a little bit complicated because we have a current scheme and we also have a new scheme that's coming in. It's an extension to the current scheme. So let me talk first about the current scheme and explain how things are as they stand right now, as of today, January 2024. Now, first up, I'm not going to call it free childcare because for a lot of people, it's not going to be free. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. That might blow your mind if you're expecting to get totally free childcare. This is a spoiler alert and I'm really sorry to be the one to break it to you, but it's not usually free. Let me just say there are a lot of caveats here and we're going to get into all the ins and outs of it. You're going to have to watch this whole video to understand exactly what's going on. Basically, you can get up to 30 hours of funded childcare per week for a child who's aged either 3 or 4 up until the age that they start primary school. I think it's probably best if we talk about some of the caveats that are attached to this because there are a lot of them. If you're new to this world of childcare funding, I am going to break your heart a little bit because I'm going to tell you that for most people, 30 hours free childcare is A, not free, and B, not 30 hours. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but let's just get into it. How can 30 hours funded childcare not actually mean you get 30 hours funded childcare? Well, here's the big reveal. It's term time only, okay? You get 30 hours funding for term time only. That makes no sense. Why do I get 30 hours funded childcare, term time only, when I have a job all year? It's literally a question I've asked myself before. It makes no sense. For some reason, these funded hours are available during term time only. Different providers will have different rules and you do need to ask your own childcare provider how they deal with it, but most childcare providers will let you stretch your 30 hours across the whole year. Now, what that means is that they will take the 30 hours and stretch it out, and that generally comes to around I think it's about 22 hours per week. So you don't actually get 30 funded hours per week. You get about 22 once they've stretched it out across the whole year. If you are one of those rare and lucky people who does need only term time childcare, this may not apply to you. So we've established the fact that you don't actually get 30 hours in general in most cases. However, what do I mean it's not free? It's literally called 30 hours free. It's not free. Okay. Again, this is going to vary from provider to provider. And I have had a few, and I mean a few, people tell me that they actually have no bills to pay whatsoever. However, for most people, it's not going to be the case. Why isn't it free? Aren't the government paying the nurseries for your funded place? Well, kind of. The government actually pay nurseries just over £4 per hour for your funded place for your child. Now, the nurseries will say that it actually costs more than that to provide the childcare in the first place. Therefore, they would claim that the government is underfunding the places and they would then charge a supplement. Now, you might have heard people say that the nurseries are not allowed to charge you a supplement. That is true in a sense. Nurseries are not allowed to charge you a top-up fee on your hourly rate, but what they are allowed to do is charge you for additional services. So my current nursery will charge for nappies, wipes, meals, provision of forest school, provision of certain equipment, and I'm fine with that. But the reason I'm fine with it is because I knew that that was going to be the case when I signed up. If you didn't know any of this, it might come as a massive shock to you when you think you're going to get your 30 funded hours and have no bill to pay, and actually you've still got quite significant costs. So we've talked about how you don't get 30 hours and we've talked about how it isn't free. Let's move on to another huge problem with the 30 funded hours childcare scheme, and that is availability. Lots of nurseries and childminders have closed in recent years, and it can be quite difficult to find yourself a funded place if you can find a nursery place at all in the first place. Your nursery or childminder doesn't actually have to offer you a funded place. There's no requirement for them to do it. So you do need to ask around when you're looking at nurseries whether or not they actually provide funded places and whether they can provide one for your child. Some don't provide it at all, some have limits on the number of funded spaces that they have, and others will have availability. So you understand what funded hours are, you found yourself a nursery that's going to provide you a funded place. Excellent. When your child turns 3, you are going to be rolling in the cash. Except you're not. In fact, depending on when your child's birthday is, you could be waiting for months before you're able to get your funded hours, despite the fact that they're already 3. What am I talking about? Okay, so you do not get your funded hours on your child's 3rd birthday. You get your funded hours the term after your child turns 3. Now, I'll put a little list of when the different terms are and when your birthday is, etc., etc. But essentially it goes like this. If your child is born between September and December, you will get your funded hours in January. If your child is born between January and March, you will get your funded hours in April. If your child is born between April and August, you will get your funded hours in September. September is such a long wait. As the parent of an April-born child, I can only commiserate with the parents who've got April-born children, especially if it's like April the 2nd. I mean, it's such a long wait to get your funded hours, and I think a lot of people don't realise that there could be that huge wait to actually get the funded hours. So who is eligible for 30 hours free childcare? There's a lot of confusion about who is eligible for 30 hours childcare, okay? So I'm talking about this as it is in the current scheme, but the rules for the current scheme will apply for the extended scheme, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. And just going to make it really simple, it's slightly more complicated and in-depth. However, as a general rule, except for limited circumstances, both parents need to be working, and they need to be working around a minimum of 16 hours per week on the national minimum or living wage. As I've mentioned, there are some limited exceptions to this, but that is the general overall eligibility. Now, you will continue to receive your 30 hours free childcare until one of you is earning £100,000 in net adjusted income in a year. Not both of you, it's not your combined income, it's a single earner. So if one of you is earning £101,000 and the other one is earning nothing, you may not be eligible. If both of you are earning £99,000, you would still be eligible. It's crazy, but that's the rules. It is important to say this is net adjusted income, it's really complicated, and if you have any questions at all, you need to speak to an accountant or a tax advisor to make sure that you are eligible. It would be impossible to go through absolutely every single different scenario for every single person. However, that's the general eligibility rules. You can check your actual eligibility by looking at the government website or going through the Childcare Choices website to make sure that you are actually eligible before you apply. It is also really important to say that if you are in receipt of any benefits, you need to speak to somebody who is qualified in that area, because claiming tax-free childcare or 30 hours may affect your benefits. So do check before you apply. Don't panic if you're going on to maternity leave because you're going to be on statutory maternity pay and you're not going to be making a lot of money. You are generally going to be eligible. There is a box specifically in the application for people who are on maternity leave. It gets a little bit complicated if you go on unpaid maternity leave, but in general, most people who are on paid maternity leave are still going to be eligible. You can also claim this if you're self-employed. It gets a little bit more complicated and there's slightly different rules. So again, I would urge you to check the government website for the exact details on that, but you can claim it if you're self-employed. So what's happening with 30 hours funded childcare? You might be wondering why I'm talking about 30 hours funded childcare for 3 and 4 year olds. Aren't they changing it to 9 months old? Well, they are, but not yet. Okay, so it's happening in phases. Phase 1 starts on April the 1st, 2024, and that is for 15 hours for eligible 2-year-olds. Phase 2 starts on the 1st of September 2024, and that is for all children above 9 months to get 15 hours funded childcare. Phase 3 is going to happen in September 2025, and that is for all children above 9 months to get 30 hours funded childcare. So it will be an extension to 30 hours funded childcare for all children above the age of 9 months, but it's not happening until 2025. The applications window opened on the 2nd of January. This has caused quite a lot of confusion because the government didn't really communicate exactly how it was going to work when you applied. So far, what seems to be the case is that if you do not already have a childcare account, a tax-free childcare account, etc., you can apply now through the usual channels, through the government website. You can apply now for your childcare account, set up your government gateway ID, and you will get your code, okay? The second thing that's happening is that people who already have a tax-free childcare account or a childcare account, and they already have an eligible 2-year-old, so a child who is already 2, they are automatically being issued codes, okay? The third thing that's happening is that people who already have a tax-free childcare account, but have a child who is not yet eligible but will be eligible, so they're going to be 2, but they're not necessarily 2 yet, are not allowed to apply until the reconfirmation date, which is potentially going to be an issue if the reconfirmation date is really late. An even bigger problem than that is that whilst the applications window is open now for the current 15 hours funded childcare for 2-year-olds, nurseries and childminders are saying they just don't have enough information to be able to tell people whether or not they're offering the spaces. So people are getting codes, but they're not necessarily able to confirm that they actually have a place for that child under those funded hours. If you only listen to one thing in this video, let it be this. You can use 30 hours childcare and tax-free childcare at the same time, okay? It's not one or the other. If you're eligible for both, you can use them at the same time, okay? You get your bill from the nursery that will have your 30 hours deducted. Then you get your tax-free childcare account and you pay from there, so you can take advantage of the government top-up. We're going to talk about tax-free childcare in a different video, but you can use them at the same time as long as you're eligible for both schemes. I hope this video was useful. I hope you know a little bit more about the process now than you did before. Please comment your questions in the question box. Please press like, press subscribe. It will bring you back for more videos like this. I'm Mortgage Free Lee. I talk about money and mum life, and I'd love to see you on the next one.